Hello, this video is a basic and advanced guide to AI defense. I will be covering AI priority, unit and building arrangement, movement and skill choice. My general guide pertains to non-savior defense, since I never used and never will use savior, but I will show you how it could be successful regardless. So this guide is based on the way I build my defense and will be broken down by sections. Understanding AI chase priority. Melee without assist move first, then ranged without assist, followed by melee with assist, and then ranged with assist. All else equal, units closer to the foes have priority of action. However, given equal distance, lower slot number is given top priority. It is important to understand those mechanics because you want your allies to not only stay close together so they won't be picked one by one, but also keep your damage dealers at further distance, like so, and melee closer to the foes after the chasing phase so that the foes cannot easily snipe your important damage dealers. On assist priority, dance and healing have the same priority, then followed by rally and then by movement. But which one goes first between healing and dance depends on distance with respect to their respective foes. Here Sarah goes first because she's further away to Mila compared to Triandra and Uller. However, given equal distance, lower slot has priority once again. The same applies to movement, when two units can both trigger movement assist, which requires that the assist reduces the number of enemy threat by at least one on the target, then the one unit being further away from their closest foe, which here is air, will have priority. The distance priority rule also applies to dance and rally skills. Speaking of rally trap, hit and run can potentially mess with your rally. One possible way to catch them is, for example, having a ranged unit without assist moving first, and owing to threatened range, your ranged cavalry from behind would rally, causing a dance at the end. Rally always has priority over movement assist, but still I wouldn't recommend more than one rally unit. Now, what about the rally up? This one has its specific roles and targets in priority the higher slot number. Slot number increases as one goes from left to right in your edit defensive team. So here, Leaf is first top priority, Note second top priority, Mia third top priority, etc. For instance, if you were to bait Mia, Lilina will not target her but instead note if she belongs to a higher slot, as long as the buff spreads to Mia as well. Now Lilina covers for both Maribel and Mia, while giving herself one more tile to hit. However, this trick is a lot more deceptive without Pathfinder because your opponent will not see the hidden range of a rally up. If you think you can bait Maribel and Lilina cannot reach her, then you would be wrong because Summer Mia belongs to the highest slot, meaning the rally up still works as an effective trap, as you can see. A very interesting interaction between rally and trace is that a cavalry uses the maximum remaining movement considering there is no threat on that tile. For instance, Ursula would move on the defense tile here because no one on my team is threatening this tile. In this case, this unit could move closer to the foes before a refresh, as you can see. Be careful still, if all possible tiles are threatened like in this situation, the cavalry will never move. As you can see, there is still one more deceptive trick which involves near trace on a dancer. I will probably make another video as soon as I have one such skill on my dancer. Overall, trace is a nice trick, but understand how to use it. Also keep in mind the AI gives priority to upward tiles and toward the right side whenever possible when using Trace or Canto, so make sure your rallier is placed backline and place structures on tiles you don't want them to go. Which assist on which unit? The choice is relevant with respect to hit and run. The golden rule is to always make sure the melee units stay closer to the enemies and high mobility ranged units further away. One way to achieve this outcome is not having assist on a very important backline unit with high movement like Arm, forcing them to move first and then being the target of a dance, and then another high movement unit like Maribel moving second and becoming the target of a movement assist like Swap due to being threatened. Swap is an assist that I highly recommend on melee frontliners because Reposition and Drawback usually reduce the pressure on your enemy, unlike Swap. Considering the availability of Canto and Trace, hit and run is very easy to perform. One way to use Reposition Drawback deceptively is when you have two ranged units, one is surviving thanks to Windsweep or high defense. Reposition allows another ranged unit to attack and finally get the kill. Speaking of which, you can play around with a slot number to set up Pathfinder trap. Let's say Note and Lin have equal distance with respect to their closest foe, which is Air. Note slot number 1 will use Reposition before Lin does, which gives Lin 1 extra movement. If ranged unit should really get a movement assist, use Drawback instead of Swap or Reposition because they want to stay behind. In general, I would advise not using movement assist on them because it reduces the pressure. The exception is when you use a Cavline in the Spring Breeze map. In this case, Drawback Reposition is not a bad thing because they are harder to snipe due to the buildings. A special case is the non-movement assist. In your replay, if you realize Drawback is splitting your team and reducing the pressure, then you might consider Ardent Sacrifice or Reciprocal Aid as a dummy assist instead. If you don't like those two, a movement assist that is unlikely to trigger is Smite, because Smite sends the target right into enemy's range, and the AI only uses movement assist to reduce the number of foes' threats. How to choose and dispatch your units. First, you need a variety of classes, typically a well-balanced composition. Frontline is composed of higher BST units, dominantly melee with high defenses if possible, while backline should be high threat range, high attack. As for the placement, always consider the season alongside the meta. In Dark Season, for example, if you have Chrome and Triandra, same column, Mila can disable the dance and change fate at the same time. Or during Anima, Element can disable 2 start of turn effects if you are not careful. In this example, you have Punishment Staff column 1, Triangle Attack column 2, and Ground Orders column 3, which allows Lin to teleport despite not getting Katria's effect. Try mixing the colors and weapon types to avoid easy counterpicking. Use blue and red, maybe one of them could deal physical and the other magical damage. Do you need healers? They were always useful before Savior skill and safe defense, but even now they have some utility. Considering that turn 1 defense almost died, people use Bolt Tower more often now. A healer during turn 3 after Bolt Tower would heal an ally, could receive a dance and after that snipe a foe. An interesting interaction happens when you use Return Plus as to force a unit to move forward. If you place a healer in the corner, for instance Sarah, I suggest Wings of Mercy to increase consistency. Finally, if using a healer, Odd Recovery is sometimes useful because it heals some of the damage inflicted by Bolt Tower. Slot number. Slot 1, which is noted here, is the unit being featured as your lead defense unit in other players' defense replay after you match them. So be careful not disclosing the strategy of your defense or with units having easy counterpick skills or units. People may rematch you while being fully prepared. 7 slot choice depends. For a standard defense, choose a unit you don't want being baited alone. Ideally, it should be a defensive unit that is not meant to deal much damage. 7 slot can be used as a trap. There are many possibilities, but let me show you my last idea for Anima Season. You place Maribel's 7 slot, wait for Katria to trigger a rally, causing Mirabilis to dance Maribel, who then will hit Fiorm with Punishment Staff and Guard, allowing Chrome then to one-shot Fiorm. Analyzing the meta, it is very important to understand the strength of your barrack against the current meta. Before the introduction of Savior, high threat ranged units were very effective at catching backline and misplaced foes. Savior, however, changed everything. One attempt at outplaying Savior, which sometimes works, is the Firesweep effect combined with Savage Blow Poison Strike, mixed with some special ready. Now with Ascended Fury, Wind Sweep is useless on ranged units in general. Yet we still have no meta-relevant unit designed to counter Melee Firesweep. This is why Legendary Marth, Brave Arm and Brave Erika are pretty good in AR defense. However, if you don't even have Erika or Arm, unfortunately other options are not as reliable. But generally speaking, you should not try to destroy both near and far save. Savior using min-maxing method to cheat, make use of the same strategy, min-maxing your own AR defense. Go full near save destruction with heavily focused melee threats or full far save destruction with heavily focused ranged threats. Alongside Savior, an equally dangerous team is the Ninja Duo team. You would need strong frontliners, Muspel, Seros, a highly invested Hel and Duma, and even Ash with Wings of Light are pretty good. The best F2P options we have are Brave Ike and Sigurd as frontliner because of their ranged turbo damage reduction. However, they require heavy investment to not only survive but also dealing a fatal hit when necessary. Remember, they are meant to kill frail units in a hit and run team, not armor tank with Savior. A more detailed review is provided in the link below within the description. Another ridiculous threat is the Bolt Tower, and it has always been exceedingly cancerous. One little trick is the use of Vantage B skill. Not many units use it well. Some good units are Duochrome, Springmer, a highly invested Winter Altina, or even Brave Ike, provided he got a strong special ready. In general, they are meant to kill prayer phase units, not Savior, so don't overuse them. Finally, a dirty trick: if unlike me you are willing to use Savior in defense, I could also suggest trying Vantage on your armor unit, provided you are confident your armor tank can survive Ninja Lin or Corin at max HP and one-shot them in return. Which passive skills to use? In general, I recommend using skills that trigger on both phases, not just enemy phase, such as ARD skills, form skills, and maybe push skills. You need enough power to play your phase reliably, but also enough stat to reduce damage on enemy phase. If you consider your tank powerful enough to deal damage, then you might consider an enemy phase A skill. Furthermore, if you know the frontliner cannot reliably destroy Savior, then you might consider a purely enemy phase B skill also as a protection against Yuri and Ninja units. The C skills would vary, but if Panic Mana is not a problem for you due to their low frequency of use, I would say tactic skills are very useful. We know how strong buff is for AR offense, so unless you're really concerned about panic effects, there is no reason not to use buff, and I always use tons of buff in my defense. And now, for frontliner meant to take hits in enemy phase, I suggest ranged defensive special like Sacred Cowl. More often than not, players engage with a ranged unit because it's easier to hit and run. Also, a close range defensive special on frontliners are not effective due to Savior tank using guard skills. Placement of your structures. Remember that structures affect the chasing path of your units. You can place some structures so as to force them to move south, to the left or right. It may serve your strategy well. Here we will observe Note's behavior. In this example, because we destroyed everything, Note moves south because she's chasing air, and moving south is the shortest path to attack air, as you will see. However, in this second example, we placed the fortress in the middle so that no one can destroy it, and you will see that Note will move to the left because Chrome potentially threatens the tile on the right side. As you will see, Narya indeed cannot reach this tile, but because Chrome can potentially reach this tile, moving 2 spaces, then chasing air means that Note chooses the tile that has less enemy threat. And now, after reversing Maria and Chrome's position, we observe that Note moves to the right, not only because Maria isn't threatening the tile, but also because within the same row, the AI chooses the higher tile value, which is the right side. As you can see. On a related note, always consider safe defense turn 1 hit and run with Yuri. A front line composed of defensive units should be fine, along with a fortress in the middle and few buildings around it to force the units to waste actions and avoid them repositioning or dancing Yuri after Canto. Furthermore, if there is any unit frontline weak to Yuri, let's say Sophists, do not hesitate to place multiple buildings in the same column. However, remember still not to hinder too much your own unit's chase. Placement of your traps. Because of Yuri and Lin with Disarm Trap being everywhere, placing a trap adjacent to your frontliner is an interesting option to consider. As to which one should be real or fake is easy. Let's say you have Sigurd or Legendary Sigurd frontliner instead of Ashe right here, and 7th slot. Once again, Sigurd is one of the best F2P options against ranged threats with Disarm Trap. It seems unlikely someone will initiate on Sigurd using Regin or Erika due to the range, so the best bet is to place a fake one here. Other situations, however, such as this defense, involve an analysis between multiple alternative options. Here I decided to place a real trap adjacent to Ashe because killing this Seros of mine is more difficult than killing this Ashe. And anyone who would attack Claude likely is using Disarm Trap, so it's useless to protect Claude with a real trap. However, if anyone would attack Claude with Ninja Corinne, for example, the placement of a fortress here makes it very difficult for your opponent to smite Corinne right into the trap, hence why you have to place at least a fake one. How many mythics do you need? Ideally 3. The biggest advantage is making your units more difficult to kill by player-face strategies, the kind of which often involves cancel units like the ninja ones with Duo Peony. Your units are also more likely to survive a strong hit from Savior like Bonfire or Ice Mirror. Experimenting. Do not underestimate surprise factor. For example, Ashe in AR defense is a variable no one would ever expect. People probably don't know how to deal with her. Sure, she's increasing your lifter loss, but assuming you have a bonus defense mythic and the outcome of your defense improves a lot, it's worth taking the risk of losing 10 more lift. Offense mythics are so much better than defense mythics that it may be worth considering them in your defense sometimes. And finally, the last issue, long-term investment. It goes without saying we don't know if our investment will be worth its longevity for defense purpose only. One way to make sure your investment in terms of flowers, fodders, floret doesn't go to waste is asking if you're going to use that same unit in AR offense and other modes even in the distant future. For example, Erika is good in every mode, so it's worth giving your fodders and flowers. Another example is Brave Moth, reliable in offense and summoner duos, and if you can set up his automatic Vantage for your AR defense, then he's even more serviceable and definitely worth your best fodder and even your floret. Legendary units, although you wouldn't use them every season, are also worthy candidates because they rotate as bonus units in multiple modes. They are usable in both AR defense and offense, and in Arena of course.